pillaged in Piscataway. Rutgers is robbed of a victory against number 24 Illinois at home, and it's because of their head coach. Let's get to it. Okay, so let's get to it. No puff, no intro, no bullshit today. Rutgers snatches defeat from the jaws of victory, and it's all because of Greg Schiano. This isn't Monday morning quarterbacking and looking after the fact to say, well, maybe he shouldn't have called timeout. You know, yesterday started off as a perfect football weather kind of day. It was cold. It was windy. Bright sunshine, partly cloudy. Although, my idea of perfect football weather was like that Cleveland Brown-Pittsburgh Steelers game the other night. In the snow, can't see anything. Absolutely love that. I was a little bit worried about this game, even though Illinois was a winnable game and they didn't have the kind of athletes that might give us problem chasing them all over the field. I worried about them because they're a team that kind of wants to play it like us, close to the vest, not make a lot of mistakes. When and where were we going to make the mistake to potentially lose the game? I felt, even after the game started, that we kind of had the upper hand because Illinois was that team making a lot of mistakes and penalties, and we'll get to that in a moment. Greg Schiano, you absolutely, positively get brain lock when it comes to situational football and fourth down management, fourth down timeouts, or timeouts in general. Your timeout management is horrible. Always has been. Even over the past years, we'd sit there in the stands. I'm in section 124 with my buddies. And Greg Schiano wind up calling a timeout with, say 5 minutes left in the first half. We'd all laugh and say, we still have we have 2 timeouts left. We have all our timeouts left. That's how bad Greg Schiano is at timeout management. Absolutely terrible. Then, let's get to it. So after a game that we were leading virtually the entire game until 4 minutes left, Illinois takes the lead. I think it was on that 30-yard run around end by Luke Altmaier. I mean, nobody was even there. And Joe Harris-Simiak, you're not off the hook either because you had a bad game yesterday. We get the ball back, and we'll go through the series in a little bit. Ethan Kaliakmanis does his job. 3 minutes, I think it was 3:07 left. Now, typically, we're not that team come from behind kind of team. Proof positive, if you know what you're doing and you let Ethan run the offense and throw the ball, and we can run with Kyle off the throw, you can be successful. Ethan marches us downfield. We get down. We'll skip through some of the plays until a little bit. Gets us a first down run on 4th and 12 after an interception that was called against him was ruled just incomplete. Throws a 13-yard touchdown pass to Kyle Monongai. We lead with 1:03 left. And at that moment, standing there, said to my buddies, this isn't good. This is way too much time. 1:03, Illinois is going to march down the field and they're going to score on us. Despite us scoring a touchdown on the pass to Kyle, that was bad situational football. You should have ran at something, run out the clock as much as you could to get in the end zone. Nonetheless, we'll get back to that. Of course, we kick it off with 1:03 left, and Illinois marches down the field like a hot knife through butter. But we stiffen up once they get around the 30, 35-yard line. We had good momentum in that series. Couple incompletions, a penalty. It's 3rd and 13 from the 35-yard line. 38-yard line. And then, I think it's 35-yard line. And then they got the penalty to make it from the 40-yard line, 41-yard line. Illinois lines up for a 58-yard kick in the cold, in the wind, in SHI Stadium. Okay, I'm saying we got this, and I'm saying we got this because I watched the kicker in warm-ups. He couldn't hit anything. Everything was coming up short, coming up wide, floating up in the air. Couldn't even hit him from 30 yards. He hit one. Coming out for second half warm-ups, he hit one 30-yard field goal. I don't know how many attempts. So when he lined up for that 58-yarder, I'm like, we got this. And then it happened. It's 4th and 13, 58-yard field goal attempt, cold, windy day at SHI, with a kicker who is no good. If anybody was watching anything going on the field, and by the way, the one time that I guess Rutgers staff was on field, there was a kerfuffle right before the second half was about to start, and there was a fight. Referee threw a flag. Bellama's out there. Schiano's out there. The players were real chippy. I don't know what happened there, why there was a penalty flag thrown, and then, nothing happened after that. Nonetheless, that they were involved in. Watching the kicker miss 30-yard field goals that they didn't see. But alas, Greg Schiano does what Greg Schiano does. He overthinks it, micromanages, overmanages. The ill-fated 58-yard kick that I missed it by 15 yards short, wide to the left. And there's like a stop in the action. Referee's doing this. And I'm going, no, he didn't. Yes, he did. Schiano blows situational football once again, overusing. He almost cost us in the first half, and we'll get to that in a second. He's really fortunate Ethan executed, because we needed 2 timeouts at the end of the first half to be able to stop the clock with less than a minute left as we were in Illinois territory driving. We needed 2 timeouts. We didn't have it. We're down at the 3-yard line. What are we going to do? How are we going to manage this situation? We only have 1 timeout, and Ethan executed. If not for Ethan, that would have been the second timeout management boondoggle of the game. He's terrible at it. Doesn't matter. I mean, situation, what is Virginia Tech? Coach, you were outcoached in Virginia Tech. You were outcoached in UCLA. You were outcoached at Wisconsin. You were outcoached yesterday. We'll get more on that in a second. So Greg Schiano does what he does. He overmanages, and historically he was always criticized as a micromanager, not a good game day coach. And after defending him for decades, I have to say, you know what? People are probably right. Nonetheless, call timeout. Brett Bielema outcoaches Schiano. Said in the post-game press conference, I knew he was going to try it. I knew he was going to call timeout. He sends the offense back out there. Luke Altmaier hits Pat Bryant, 40-yard touchdown, across the middle, around the end, surrounded by 5 Rutgers defenders, walked into the end zone like it was a Sunday walk in the park. Not even touched. A loss for the ages. This is one we'll be talking about decades from now. Hey, remember when Schiano blew that game? We had a win against the ranked team for the first time in what, 41 games? No. 41 losses in a row to a ranked team. And oh, by the way, the only team that we've beaten at home over the past 10 years was a bad Indiana team. Only time. Can't win at home last game of the season. Well, I mean, why do we do this? We sat in the cold and the wind for 4 hours yesterday. Ticket prices are going to go up next year. Parking is going to go. It's going to be $40 to park in the yellow lot. Forced contributions for your seats. Getting pestered by the R Fund every week. For what? For this nonsense? The only coach who was earning his salary the past 5 weeks was Kirk Schiano. He turned it around, and the coaching staff finally figure out how to play better offense. We'll get back to that in a second. Watching Coach Schiano and the post-game press conference, I couldn't even watch it. I'm tired of the platitudes. Oh, if it works, it's a good decision. If it doesn't, it's a bad decision. Oh, this is the Big Ten. This is what happens. The other team's trying to win too. All that bullshit. Watching Brian Fonseca of NewJersey.com, Rutgers rant after the game. Coach was absolutely right for trying to freeze the kicker. Here's what I'm gonna tell you guys who are supposed to know football. You're in the business. I'm just an alum, a fan, been going to Rutgers games since early 70s. By the way, the irony wasn't lost on me yesterday when we paid tribute to a guy that was for the 1961 Rutgers team that went 12-0 and was in the Rutgers Hall of Fame, recently passed away. And that 12th game was against Columbia. I remember those days playing Columbia, Brown, Princeton, Cornell. I've said this before. I'd rather go back to that than watch this debacle. We gotta sit there. And by the way, the fans knew it was coming. We're still leading in the fourth quarter, and the stadium's emptying out. Early to mid fourth quarter, people were leaving. I was like, why are people leaving? I knew why they were leaving. They felt what was coming. They felt the momentum shift. They knew it was coming, and they were right. They were heading for the buses when we were winning a game. We weren't even losing, and they were leaving because they knew what was coming. They knew. Coach, when are we going to get there? We're going to get there. It's not, I can tell you this right now. It's not going to be next year, for sure. Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, Iowa, 4 losses right there. And Greg Schiano teams, being Greg Schiano teams, they're going to lose a couple games against their peer that they're very beatable and we probably should beat and don't. So what is it? Another 6-6 team again next year? Pinstripe Bowl? Maybe? Who knows? Maybe I think it's Ohio, Miami, and Ohio is on the schedule next year. One of them was 7-4 before yesterday. I didn't check to see those scores. But they might even beat it. It's like Miami or Ohio. Some say they're 8-4. I mean, who knows? We might have problems with them next year. So now we're staring down the road at yet another 6-6. I mean, even if we beat Michigan State, who had trouble with Purdue, they were up in that game 21-3, whatever it was, wound up winning 24-17. Michigan State by no means is a chalk it up in the win column kind of game. Bye-bye Citrus Bowl. They were there yesterday. They were apparently were impressed. It looked like, according to Steve Politi, Citrus Bowl was going to extend an invitation. And then it happened. Greg Schiano got in the way, which is what he usually does. You could have blown it for us in the Virginia. I mean, we're going to kick the field goal when we should punt. We punt when we should kick the field. I mean, the fourth down play. I can't do it anymore. He needs to cede his in-game management to somebody else, especially when it comes to timeouts. I mean, is he at this point? Is he even a football coach anymore? Yes, he's a good face of the program. Yes, he's a good marketer. Yes, he's a good. Is there a job where you can be like face of the program, marketer, recruiting guy, and let somebody else coach the team, coach the game? I mean, Ethan and Fletcher bailed you out of the Virginia Tech game. If we won yesterday, Ethan would have bailed you out of that as well, having no timeouts left at the end of the first half, but he made a play. Was it a touchdown? Was it Diane or Dimir or Ian? Nonetheless, a lot of time coaches just can't see the forest through the trees. In that first half, when we use the timeout, and this happens all the time, Coach Schiano is so poor at it, we just laugh. We laugh. When something doesn't happen bad after he calls a timeout, we're like, okay, he got away with one there. 3rd and 13, 3rd and 14 in the first half, we're kind of having our way a little bit. We're controlling the pace of the game. 3rd and 14. Coach Schiano calls a timeout. This is we stopped them on first down, stopped them on second down, penalty. 3rd and 14. You need to have situational awareness. You don't stop that rhythm, that tone, that momentum that you have because you're trying to micromanage and you think you see something that is vulnerable. Let it play out. You had the rhythm, you had the momentum on your side. These guys were making plays. Of course, he calls a timeout. 3rd and 14. Boom. 22-yard touchdown pass, whatever it was. Because, of course. Now, yesterday, Illinois didn't have a great game overall on third downs. But there were 3 third downs that absolutely positively killed us, including like a 65-yard pass to Bryant. After we, again, stopped him on first down, stopped him on second down, another defensive lapse. Bryant does a little in, cuts it out and up, goes 65 yards, almost scored a touchdown. Ridiculous. It just seems that coach is just like that guy that's trying to cause a problem that's not there. Let it play out. Coach, whenever you're thinking about calling a timeout, don't. Now, you got 12 guys on the field? Okay, maybe. But if it's only going to cost you 5 yards in a non-critical situation, just let it slide because you know what? It's always 100% of the time going to come back to be a problem for you. Just unbelievable. So this isn't the NFL. right? The kicker isn't attempting a 46, 47-yard kick. You try to freeze him. Maybe you get an advantage by letting him think about it, overthink it. Overthink it, coach. When you have a bad kicker who already missed an extra point, let me say it again. Throw the book away. When you have a bad kicker who already missed an extra point and couldn't hit a 30-yarder in warm-ups, and it's 58 degree, a 58-yarder, and it's cold and it's blustery, don't freeze the kicker. There's no need to freeze the kicker. And on top of that, the momentum in that series was on our side. Stop him on first, stop him on second, penalty, boom. Let him try and kick that 58-yarder. There's no way he's going to hit it. You gave him an opportunity to have the opposing coach outcoach you. Plus, you give him an opportunity to make a play, even if it's by dumb luck. And as we saw, Harris Simiak couldn't even cover a 4th and 13 on a 40-yard crossing pattern untouched. Unbelievable. This is a loss for the ages. Rutgers is getting national publicity once again for the wrong thing. All right, let's get to how we got to that point in the fourth quarter. We'll start in the second half, but I need a little something. So we typically start the second half slow. I don't know what the problem is. Coach is probably trying to micromanage the half game, the halftime recap. Start off slow, typically bad. We had opportunities, though. Once again, KJ Duff drops a deep sideline pass, probably a 45-yard game. Hit him right in the chest. There were 5 or 6 more drops yesterday. 3 or 4 in the first half, a couple in the second half. I mean, this poor guy, what else can he do? The one bad pass was a pass that was called an interception, then overturned. We punt, 3 and out. We get the ball at the 49. Okay, great field position. Pass to Daimir. Late hit out of bounds. They call targeting, but not the late hit out of bounds. What happens on that play? Ethan fumbles. And let me say this. The officiating yesterday, absolutely horrendous. Horrendous. A roughing the kicker that wasn't roughing the kicker. The Rutgers defender was on the ground, rolling on the ground. The punter steps over and falls on top of him. They call roughing, and we know what happens to our momentum when that happens. They don't call the late hit on the targeting. 2 interference calls that were nowhere even close to being interference, and then one that they should have called interference on. The play before, they called the interception late in the fourth quarter on Ethan. KJ Duff blatantly interfered with. Blatantly. No call. My whole section was standing up screaming at the side judge. Like, what the fuck are you looking at? What is your problem? We see it from the stands. You're right there. They see what it's like. Politics. They see what they want to see. We were controlling the pace of the game. If you would have told me we would have had the ball, I don't know, for over 44 minutes and Illinois had it for like 22 minutes, you would have thought we blew Illinois out. No, Illinois, and I went through this in my preview, one of the worst teams in the country with time of possession. They were in between 95 and 100. Nonetheless, you can see we kind of managed, but we felt the momentum shift. So Illinois particularly marches downfield, get a touchdown and miss a 2-point conversion. So it was 17-9 at halftime. Now it's 17-15. Still up, kind of felt uneasy. Fourth quarter, a little bit nip and tuck. We're up 24-22. Illinois marches down the field. Luke Altmaier, who had not a good day passing, had a good day rushing. Must have had like 75 yards. 30-yard touchdown scamper around end. They take the lead. It's 30-24. We get the ball back. 3 minutes, 7 seconds left. Talking about this with my buddies at the game. Typically this is not what we do, not a comeback kind of team, but I think Ethan can do it. And he does. Until he threw that ball that was called an interception. We got up, we started to walk away. They overturn it. So you saw the flow out the stadium. People stopped, turned around, and they were watching from wherever they were. And Ethan did his job. But when Kyle scored, and there was 1:03 left, said to my buddy, this is going to be a problem. 1:03 left, what's going to happen? But he said, hey, look, if you can't stop him with 1 minute left, you probably don't deserve to win, and he's right. Joe Harris-Simiak went into, I don't know, what was it? John Madden used to say, defense prevents you from winning. Wide open underneath. Brian killed us. Yeah, yes. So Illinois' passing game yesterday was terrible. Bryant had, he had like 200, he had like 80% of the yards. He had 200 yards receiving yesterday. One guy responsible for everything. Him and Altmaier, pitch and catch and run. And then we snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. I don't even know what to say anymore. It's it's Senior Day. The coach is getting all maudlin about the seniors. You know what, coach? Do right by them. Maybe for the first time. That's not fair. I think last week against Maryland, or maybe it was against Minnesota. Maybe against Minnesota, he called the timeout when he should have called the timeout. But, coach, your game management stinks. It took the coaching staff, and I'm sure you had a lot to do with it, half the season to figure out how to run a better offense that I've been screaming about since the beginning of the year, having watched Ethan. You need to open it up. Let him throw it more when we come out throwing those slants underneath. We're more effective. You don't run, pass. You pass, run. We had an effective drive, I think, in the fourth quarter yesterday where we were completing some passes. Kyle was getting 5, 6, 7, 8 yards a chunk. Now they don't. Now they got a cheat spying Kyle, and that opened up the passing game. Being predictable is it's not the recipe for success. Keep them off balance. Took him a half a season to figure out that, yes, we can be a real offense. We have a real quarterback. We have a real quarterback who can bring us back from behind to put us ahead, make all the passes, They finally figured it out. They haven't figured out their situational football. That was terrible. And when coach always says we're going to get that, I don't even know what there is. Is it going to be the year after next? You know, coach, let me say this to you because you're probably not even thinking about this. This was the season to elevate our status. In retrospect, now, it was laughable for those who thought we can go 12-0 or even 10-2. We just can't. We're not built that way. Coach Schiano doesn't coach that way. There's games every year that we should win and we lose. We had no chance at going 10-2 or even 9-3. We are who we are. But you could have had an Indiana-type year, Coach, where you win those toss-up games. Really, you can do it. It's possible. It's not illegal to win toss-up games. These teams that we lost to were all beatable. Wisconsin gets pounded by Nebraska yesterday. UCLA is 4-5. Man, if we were undefeated, okay, maybe give them one loss on the road to USC. You're 11-1. You're knocking on the door. College football playoff. No chance. No chance it happens next year. I'm calling my shot, Coach. I'm calling it. We've seen this play over and over and over and over again. My buddies are like almost laughing. Like, you knew this was yesterday. You knew this was coming. People see it. They feel it. That's why they leave halfway through the fourth quarter when you're winning. It's time to start thinking, and I know he has got a long leash, and Coach Schiano for him to get fired, you'd have to move heaven and earth to make that happen. It's time to start thinking about a possible new future. Now, I always was on his side because coaching here is the hardest, toughest job in college football. It is. People don't care about college sports. They're focused on professional sports. Yeah, they'll pay attention to you if you win. Keeping our talent home and being able to get other people to come to New Jersey, that's a challenge, and Schiano understands that, but that only gets you so far. You can have the 25th, 30th, 35th ranked recruiting class. If you can't execute on the field, it's pointless. Got to watch SMU be ranked, Army be ranked, although they lost badly to Notre Dame yesterday, but I'd take that. 10-1? Hell yeah. Coach feels he's going to get there. I don't even know what there is. I don't even know what there looks like. This was a bad loss. And you lost it for those seniors that you were paying homage to, that took a chance on a bad team, bad program. They took a chance, and the payoff is going to be maybe another 6-6, 7-6 season. In a bowl in Detroit in the middle of December or whatever. Absolutely abysmal. A loss for the ages. The coaching staff is responsible for it, including Harris Simiak. Okay, he made some adjustments the past couple weeks. I've said this before with the Jets. Oh, this defense is supposed to be good. You know, they're managing parts of the game. It makes it look like they're good. And then they get torched in crunch time. Let's go through some stats. As I said, time of possession, we had the ball over 44 minutes. Illinois, 22-55. First downs, we had 30. 30 first downs. Illinois, 24. Third downs, deceiving. We were 9 for 14. Very good. Illinois was 4 for 10 with every one of those third downs killed us. Illinois had 431 total yards, so they had more total yards than we did, having the ball literally half as much time. That means big plays everywhere. We had 82 plays, Illinois 62. Red zone, very good. We were 5 for 5, Illinois 4 for 4. Return yards, Illinois had 71, we had 11. Dremel actually returned a punt for like 8 yards. We had 3 penalties. Illinois had 5, and they had several of them. They were having 2 plays on the same penalty. In that one play where, Illinois was called for 2 defensive penalties, but of course we had to commit a penalty, and they were offsetting. 8th and 19 to 37, 175 yards. That doesn't look like a lot, but again, he had probably at least 5 drops. So he would have been 25 for 37, 230 yards. 2 touchdowns, no picks. Of course, he had the fumble. Luke Altmaier, 13 and 26, 239 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's averaging almost 20 yards a pass yesterday, even though he was 13 and 26. And let me say this. We did a good job against the active Illinois defensive line. They had a 9% sack rate. They didn't touch Ethan. In the third quarter, you can see that Illinois was trying to step up the pressure, and they were getting there, and we had to force some passes. And our offensive line, let me say this again. Second week in a row, 0 sacks. 0 sacks, good job. Ian Strong, 6 catches, 66 yards, touchdown, a couple drops. He's a feast or famine kind of guy. He's going to drop the easy pass, and then he's going to make that play that you make you scratch your head. How the hell did he make that? Daimir, 3 catches, 38. He had a drop. Kyle, 4 for 24 and a touchdown, including that 13-yard touchdown at the end. They probably should have ran it to him a couple times to run. That's where you run the clock out and get conservative, coach. Not leaving a minute on the clock so Luke Altmaier could drive Illinois downfield. KJ Duff, 2 for 25. He had a drop, maybe 2. Should have had an interference called against him or for him. Dremel, 3 catches, 11 yards. Higgins, 1 for 11. We had 1 sack. Aaron Lewis, we gave up 0 sacks. Shaquan Loyal led the team with 8 tackles. Tyreen, a little bit quiet yesterday. So this is a game on paper. You look at it and you say, wow, this is a game we should have won. And, of course, we got Schiano'd. This is what happens when you overthink, when you overmanage, when you micromanage, right? You have a job, you work in a workplace. The boss that's a micromanager upsets the process more than he helps the process. The CEO type who manages and delegates authority and is the good decision maker, allows you to make the decision when it comes to the tough decisions. He'll be the guy that makes a decision, but he's got to make good ones. You can't try and ice a bad kicker on a 58-yard field goal attempt in the wind and the cold. That just makes no sense. You had the momentum in that series. You didn't take advantage of it. That's why we lost. That's on you, Greg Schiano and Joe Harris-Simiak. We'll see you the next time.